Good morning. I'd like to call the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission in session this morning. I'm Dennis Doherty, Commissioner here, and it is December 14th, 2023. And so let's open the meeting. Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Kern?
Here.
Commissioner Floyd?
Here.
Commissioner Japon Porter?
Here.
Commissioner Hayes?
Here.
Commissioner Miletus?
Here.
Chair Doherty?
Here. So first item on the agenda is the approval of the November 16th, 2023 commission meeting. I would propose a motion to approve.
Chair.
And a second. Second. Any discussion? So moved. Passes. Yeah.
Call
Pardon? We should do a roll on that. Sorry. Yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Kern?
Yeah.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter?
Yeah.
Commissioner Hayes?
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus?
Yes.
Chair Doherty?
Yes. So we had the great pleasure of going back to Las Vegas for a Canada meeting on marijuana. And I went back there that's the first time I've been to that meeting. I was thinking I wanted to see how we can maybe elevate Oregon a little bit or see how we can play a bigger role. And what I found out is our whole Canada team is so far ahead of me on that we are highly recognized back there and highly appreciated. And I want to really extend my congratulations and how proud I am of this agency and that Canada team. I think every panel I went to, every discussion I had, Oregon was referred to as kind of one of the leaders in that. And I think you're going to step up with some more. Craig is going to step up with some more activity there.
Our staff. This is my first Canada as well, and Matt, I think, had been before, but it's the regulators. The regulators across the country that are regulating these new industries and this cannabis and hemp industries. And I think we were just all blown away by how on every subcommittee it seemed like one of our staff were the chair of it or were part of the discussions. So I want to do my part without disrupting that, and so I'm going to try to see if I can find a way to lead our team without disrupting.
Didn't Amanda Borup was she one of the founders?
Yeah, I think.
And Steve.
Yeah, Amanda and Steve Marks. I think my understanding of the history is they started Canada in a cafe in Salem called the Icebox. They did the paperwork to start it, and it's just amazing to see what it's become, and it's really pleased to
we have
see
over 40 states now that are participating in that and seeing a recognition and referring to Oregon being ahead of the game on there. So anyway, kudos to that team. They're just awesome.
Thank you.
The second thing I want to bring up is that over 2023, in modernizing our IT system has been a horrendous effort. And there have been people in this organization, and when we had people leaving the organization, we're short-staffed, but Chrissy Scott brought it to my attention that there were several people that hung in there. They were working day and night and coming in on weekends 24/7. And I will probably miss somebody. I hope I do not, but some of the people I want to highlight that Christy let me know. Is it Frank Freo, Brandon Newell, Melvin Saxby, Thomas Hack, Martin Teller. I have a person named Hack on our IT team. Kim Noyan and Missy Talbot. So thank you so much for the efforts that they put in, and Christy Scott for going way above and beyond. So The next item on the agenda is that OLCC is now 90 years old. And I don't remember much about that time back then. I was very young. But tell us a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to recognize this. Tomorrow, the OLCC turned 90. So in 1933 was really when the OLCC was formulated. Age for alcohol control in Oregon. This was the end of prohibition. It was the time of the Great Depression. The governor at that time appointed a study to look at how to prohibit and how to, in a pragmatic way, handle liquor, and recommended the plan that we have. And at the time, the thing that they were responding to was the saloon system that kind of started, or was the impetus for prohibition. And it's interesting. I look back at some of the governor's letters saying, "Please look into this." Already, you could see they were differentiating alcohol that had over 14% ABV from beer and wine. And I loved that they, you'll appreciate this, commissioners. They recommended a non-salary commission, and you can attest to that. That would have as its goal to really prevent the private profit motive from really having too much of a negative impact on the sale of liquor, to guard against political patronage in how people are licensed, and also just unfair pricing. Pricing where a supplier would drop the price for a while, try to get a monopoly, and basically own, an area. So it's interesting to me that in 33, they were already envisioning some of the things that you have put into place.
Craig,
Yeah.
We've been asked to hold for a second because of audio issues.
Oh, yeah.
Going on, so we need to take a break for a few minutes.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah. In 1933, they didn't probably figure that we would have the ability to have a virtual meeting like this. So thanks for getting everyone back. Anyway, I just wanted to conclude by just saying, 1933, they envisioned this system. I think the hallmark of it is that the state is the wholesaler. The state warehouses the liquor, separates some of the powers so that you have control. They were thinking about revenue. At the time, they were thinking about the Great Depression. And it's interesting, they were thinking about, could they use some of the revenue for that social crisis at the time. So I just wanted to recognize you and say thank you for continuing a tradition and continuing a responsibility to control liquor in Oregon. And here's to the next decades and years, but it's been 90. And so I thank you for your service, and just wanted to recognize you all and recognize the moment for the audience who might not be aware of that.
That's great.
Chair,
Sure.
thank you for that, Director Friends. Thank you for that. I'd also like to add that there is tremendous value of a control state model, and particularly as it relates to being a licensee and Oregon hospitality. One of the biggest benefits of a control state model is consistent pricing, to your point. And this enables restaurant owners to maintain stable costs and healthy margins on their liquor sales. Another very important benefit is better safety, better compliance, and responsible service. OLCC mandates ongoing training and education requirements for servers, for bartenders, and for retailers, and stringent age verification requirements reduces the likelihood of serving alcohol to minors. And lastly, one of my favorite benefits of a controlled state model is more support for Oregon craft distillers. We give fair play and market access to local and regional small craft distillers. And this not only benefits restaurateurs looking to feature locally produced spirits on their menus, but it also supports our community, as well as enhancing Oregon's unique offerings. So here's a little Oregon hospitality stats for you if you haven't heard them in a while. Oregon is home to 400 breweries, 1,000 wineries, 1,400 vineyards. Wow. 70 cideries, 100 distillers, 73 distributors, and 10,000 restaurants. And these industry numbers create hundreds of thousands of good-paying Oregon jobs and contribute to more than $14 billion a year in economic activity for the state. Right, and so this essential sector depends on a viable OLCC, So to that, I will say cheers to 90 years.
Cheers. Thank you. And let me add in that I love having these different perspectives coming in from the business side and from that. And I'm going to talk from the side of it as a recovering alcoholic that they were fully aware back then of, I think they called it pernicious alcohol, whatever this evil was coming into the state. And so the need to control it was critical to help protect the population. And those are our two primary missions here, is the health and safety of the public and to the success of the businesses that are legally operating under our purview. So health and safety, success of local business. So it can be a little bit conflicting at times, but I think we do a great job of that. And the control state system is the best way to do that. For health and safety, we certainly limit the number of locations where alcohol may be purchased. We have 285 liquor stores. And if you've watched the state of Washington, where they went away from the control state system, they went from, I think, to 350 locations, liquor stores, to now they have more than 1,600. And the hours of availability went from about 10 hours per day. They're open 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, wherever they want. And the subsequent increase in consumption, in crime, and related issues, certainly alcoholism and alcohol abuse has gone up dramatically. And in addition to the control, we also, as Craig pointed out, taking some of these funds and putting them back into the community for the health of the community. And we gave it was a 2023, 2022 session, 2022, 24 session, I guess it was. Anyway, 113 million to Oregon cities, 113 million, and they can use that for their health and for treatment. And then 56 million to the counties for the same purpose, to deal with population of abuse, addiction problems, mental health issues that go along with this, homelessness, recovery, that are all issues there. And then the other part of that, for business success, the system works because we establish floor pricing. So none of the big boys can come in and undercut our businesses here, and that protects those businesses. We have a 3-tier systems of manufacturers, wholesalers, and distributors. Each section there has to be responsible for ensuring that these laws are complied with, and the regulations that we set forward are also complied with under those businesses under our purview. And this ensures the safety of the public and securing the healthy marketplace for Oregon businesses. So I just want to, these elements of Oregon's control system reinforce and strengthen our ability to protect Oregonians from the negative consequences of alcohol consumption. And without our system in place, the proliferation of alcohol and the problems it can create could be much more widespread. So for one, as a recovering alcoholic, I'm great to have this system in place. And I think it just overwhelmingly benefits the state of Oregon. So, but thank you. Thanks, Craig, for bringing that up.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next on the agenda, Steve Robbins. Can we get a warehouse update, please?
Good morning, Chair Doherty, members of the commission. For the record, Steve Robbins. I'm the Distilled Spirits Program Director. I have just a very brief update for you today on the new warehouse and IT modernization. As I explained in the last commission meeting, the contract for the construction management general contractor, or the CMGC, that is a contract that is controlled by the Department of Administrative Services. And that is still in process between the Department of Administrative Services and the Department of Justice. I did want to just update you that Director Prince has been in contact with the Chief Operating Officer for the state of Oregon, who oversees the procurement components of DAS. And we have also been in contact with the heads of procurement and folks up in leadership of the Department of Justice, and have been assured that this is absolutely a priority at the highest levels of state government. So we got an email yesterday saying that DAS and the Department of Justice were meeting today to move that project forward. So we are hopeful of that. So I wanted to provide that update. Also to let you know that we have some amendments out there for both the architect and the owner's rep. Those are just smaller amendments. So our hope is that those things can move along a little more quickly because they're not nearly as complex as the big general contractor contract that's out there. I also reported last month that the conveyance system, the series of belts that we are going to use in the new warehouse, DAS had determined that that should be a separate procurement from the warehouse itself. And I want to just report to you that OLCC and our OLCC procurement folks have gotten all the parameters and information to DAS for that procurement as well. So we've checked the boxes on that one as well, and are moving that forward. I am very excited to say that we have signed a contract with our geotech contractor. We signed an agreement with Professional Services Industries, or PSI, to perform the geotechnical investigation, or the core samples on the property. I've talked about before the fact that it's important to know how much weight that land can hold, but also I have learned that they are looking to find subterraneous gravel layers that will direct surface water, so we can understand how runoff will behave on the property as well. They are actually, that contract is signed. They are going to be on the property on the 2nd through the 5th of January. And I have asked for permission to take pictures of that so I can bring those back and show everyone that there is movement and that we are moving forward with that on the property as well. And then last but not least, we've got the IT modernization of the distilled spirit supply chain process, which involves the ERP system, warehouse management system, and point of sale systems that are going to be critical to all of this. We're very excited that that RFP is out on the street. It was released on the 5th of December, and it will close on the 22nd of January. And so we're very excited about getting that process up and running as we try and integrate that with the warehouse and have everything end as close to the same time as possible. So we're up and running and serving Oregonians out of the Canby facility as quickly as possible. And that concludes my update. Any questions?
Thank you, Steve. I know, appreciate everything you're doing. It seems like more than a Sisyphean effort to get this thing across the finish line, and how frustrating it must be, because it's not all in your hands to make it happen. So appreciate the efforts that you guys are making to make this happen, and we'll do our part to shove the other part forward as well. So thanks.
Thanks, Chairman.
Any other questions? Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Great.
Yeah, the next item, Mr. Chair, is to have an Oregon Wine Board update from Tom Danowski. And I have it's a milestone day, so I have a coin for you, Tom, to commemorate your service on the wine board. So from the OLC.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to start off a presentation. Yeah, thank you.
So just that milestone is 12 years, right, Tom? 12 years. Tom's just left an indelible mark, I think, on the Oregon wine industry. Just we wanted to extend our gratitude to you, Tom. Just been a collaborative endeavor with you. You steered the ship, I think, through challenges and opportunities. So we just wanted to recognize your service on behalf of the commission before you gave your update, and salute your work and just say thank you.
That's a nice gesture. Thank you. And good morning, commissioners, Chair Doherty.
Good morning.
For the record, I'm Tom Danowski. I'm with the Oregon Wine Board.
Good morning, Chair Doherty and Commissioners. My name is Sarah Murdoch. I'm the Communications Director at the Oregon Wine Board. I've been able to work under Tom for 7 years at the Wine Board. But I got my start at age 13, stomping grapes at Amity Vineyards. I'm here today to support Tom, but also one of our biggest supporters of Oregon wine is coming. His name is Michael Alberti. I don't know if he's behind me, but he is the Oregonian's wine columnist, and he also writes for Wine Enthusiast. And he went to Sunset High School, as did Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for the few minutes that we have on your agenda today. We thought it might be helpful to maybe open the aperture just a little bit. Some of the statistics that Chair Floyd and Commissioner Floyd and Chair Doherty told you about the state of Oregon's alcohol and wine and cider businesses deserve probably just a little bit more of a deeper look. So in the few minutes I have today on the agenda, I thought I'd again open that aperture, look at the state's wine business in total, so that as issues come before you and questions, you'll have the framework that we hope will be helpful to understand how some of the questions that you're being asked to make judgments on and offer your opinions on have some context. I am looking to Laura, who I thought might advance my slides. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. Just a quick look. This is a scary looking chart, but I'll ask you to look just at the top half of it so you can see the arc and the trajectory of our state's wine economy over the last several years. They go back to when I started in 2011, but they're essentially a decade story of accelerated growth and tremendous recognition. You can see the crop value accelerating up to 330 million. That's just the raw material value of the wine grapes. Most of them are crushed here in Oregon. What we've found over the last few years is an increasing amount of interest from out-of-state winemakers in Oregon fruit. And it's an accelerating trend that is a complement to the growers and the quality of the fruit that they're growing here. You can see our total production in tons in the orange box going up to 137,000 tons every year. We have just over 1,400 growers all over the state that sell to wineries, also all over the state. You can see our winery count there in red. And you can also see the inflation adjusted grape tax, just a bit of history. 40 years ago this year, the Oregon wine industry, some of our first wagon pioneers and some of the many people who shaped our industry decided that they needed to have a collective source of funding. So they asked the legislature to impose on the industry, on itself, a $25 per ton assessment for every ton of grapes grown and crushed, either in Oregon or out of Oregon. And so that has been the primary funding mechanism, along with supplemental funds from the privilege tax that's enacted on wineries, whether in-state or out of state. Wineries selling more than 40,000 gallons a year in Oregon of wine are subject to the privilege tax on top of the tonnage tax. And what I show our industry members, that line in black going across the page, is just illustrative of the bite that inflation takes out of your $25 per ton assessment over time. We don't have any anticipation of that changing in the near term, but that is our primary funding mechanism. So essentially, the industry, through its taxes, funds its own growth. And that has been the case for, as I say, 40 years. 20 years of that period, the Oregon Wine Board has been the state's primary agency for wine marketing, wine communications, scientific research, and education. The functions had been done before by a table wine advisory group that used to exist under the banner of the Department of Ag. But 20 years ago, the legislature carved out the Oregon Wine Board as its own semi-independent agency. In that sense, we sit right alongside the Travel Commission, Travel Oregon, as a semi-independent agency. So I report to a board of 9 industry members who are governor appointed, but all volunteers from winery and vineyard businesses across the state. That is who I report to, not necessarily just the governor. A couple things about our wine business that are kind of distinct here in Oregon. This chart is showing you two separate exhibits here. On the left, you can see the way the national consumption of beverage alcohol tracks, and the source here is distributor depletions to retailers nationally and for the state of Oregon. On the left-hand side, you can see the way alcoholic beverages and the different sectors are represented volumetrically. On the right side, you can see the state of Oregon, and I'll point you to the two red slices of each pie. Wine represents about 16% of beverage alcohol consumption nationally, but a greater proportion, as you can see in Oregon. Consumers have really supported the homegrown business. And in Oregon, the total value of the wine economy, not just wages to people who are in the business, but also wages to people who drive distribution and delivery trucks, work in restaurants as wine directors, work in wine tourism. The total value is $8 billion annually in Oregon, attributable specifically to the wine sector, $8 billion. One of the really, really important things that underpins so much of the business system of Oregon's wine economy is our pricing relationships vis-a-vis competitors. This chart is just showing you the average selling price, and this is from Nielsen. So this is scanner data, typically grocery stores, but also in other parts of the country, there are fine wine shops that have scanners. So the pricing relationship is super important, and you can see what is probably confirming your memory of standing in front of the wine shelf in any store you've been in. Oregon wine is not always inexpensive. There's a reason for that. But what this important relationship shows really underpins so much of the Oregon wine economy. It leads us to invest in scientific research to grow better grapes and make better wines. It also leads us to really pursue and develop relationships with wine media. Wine grapes and wines are so different from other parts of our ag economy in that we have really interested wine critics, really interested bloggers, consumers writing about wine all the time. The best critics score wines on a 100-point scale, and those scores are published to the world. You've probably seen them. My colleagues in blueberries and hazelnuts try to ask me, how do you even deal with that? Because it is a different set of dynamics. But the pricing relationship for Oregon is driven by a couple of things. Our vineyard yields per acre are often less than those of our California competitors. We don't have quite as many months of really super warm sunshine. We don't irrigate aggressively to drive yields up. We take what nature gives us in most parts of the state in terms of rainfall. We get a really good amount of sun during the growing season. But we have more hillside vineyards rather than valley floor vineyards, and those can tend to grow better grapes, but not often as many tons per acre. So the yields in Oregon are a little bit less than they are in neighboring states. The amount of hand touches, skilled labor that are active in our vineyards every year, we have a greater proportion of hand-tended vines than other states do. Again, hillside vineyards drive a lot of that. Getting a tractor up a slope can be a tricky business. Getting it up a muddy slope like we have in Oregon can be very tricky business. So there's a lot of hand touches from skilled laborers. Our colleagues in the Willamette Valley estimated that a typical Willamette Valley vine is touched by hand 11 times between March and November every year. That's skilled labor that really drives up not only quality, but it certainly drives up the economics. My friends who say you don't often see anybody in the Oregon wine business driving a Lamborghini. It's a business where you really invest most of what you're earning back into the business. This chart's a little scary looking, but it's actually pretty simple. It is just showing you the sort of the volumetric share by price segment of how Oregon sits versus the wine category overall nationally. So I'll start with the left-hand part of the exhibit. About 71% of wine sold in our country that moves through scanner stores is in that $11 and under price point. But you can see that only 9% of Oregon's wines move in that $11 and below price point. Oregon's sweet spot is that $11 and up. Again, because our costs are just a little bit higher than neighboring states to farm here, but also the quality has earned the reputation that commands those prices. So as wine questions come to you over the years, it will be hopefully helpful to know that Oregon competes in that upper price band of the wine market. Important thing. It really drives a lot of our distribution towards the better wine shops, and sometimes a little less towards, marginal areas. It also drives our consumption primarily to both coasts of the country, where discretionary income and restaurants and fine wine consumption is at its highest. I mentioned wine quality and the important role that wine writers, wine journalists, wine bloggers play. My colleague Sarah deals with wine writers almost 24 hours a day because they're all over the world. And what's really interesting here, as we've seen over not only my tenure, but over the couple of decades that the Oregon Wine Board has existed, is an arc and a trajectory that is not matched by any other region in the world. Oregon represents right now about only 1.5% of all the wine made in the US. Quite a bit less than 1% of the wine made in the world. But we're about 1.5% of the wines made in the US. When writers like the ones that Sarah deals with put out publications where they rank the top 100 wines of the year, and they usually do it this month every single year, you'd expect a region like ours to get 1 or 2 wines on that list. This year, again, we got 7. There's an overweighting that happens when the best wine lists of the world are published, an overweighting towards Oregon that suggests a level of reputation capital that is beyond just our volume. And it places us in a really, really unique position. And as we look at what the impact is of Oregon's wine economy on the state of Oregon, over the last 60 years that Oregon has been making the wines that are earning the praise that you see now, Oregon has become really the leading edge of an important fundamental shift in our economy away from what has historically in Oregon been natural resource extraction. And we're moving now towards a more balanced economy. And agritourism is a huge part of that. And Oregon wines are right at the front of that, producing value-added agricultural products, driving economic impact in rural communities that sometimes don't have a lot of economic engines, and also creating a business that cannot leave. It's pretty hard to move a vineyard. These are businesses that are here to stay, and they're driving extraordinary growth here in Oregon. Oregon wine touches every one of the state's 36 counties, and it continues to grow. It employs 40,000 Oregonians in all different aspects of the business. The wine tourism economy alone is $900 million a year just in wine tourism. And again, really helping rural communities that sometimes, don't have the benefit of that. Thank you, Laura. That next slide was fine. Let me pause for a second and see if what I'm touching on prompts any questions, because I'm just barreling right through.
I'm loving it. I love information and education.
Thank you. One of the last couple of slides I wanted to touch on is, again, I've talked about the momentum and the outsized reputation that Oregon has in the wine world. That is driven not only by the quality dimension that I talked about, where I mentioned some of the scores that we get in wine magazines, but there's just no other way to say it. Consumers demand Oregon wines where they can get them. What this chart is showing you is consumer sell-through, again, measured in Nielsen scanner stores across the country for the past year. And you'll see the headline that it compares our trends and our neighboring state trends to 2019. like everybody else, when COVID came along and disrupted everything in 20, it had huge, profound channel dynamic shifts. It made comparisons to those years really quite hard. So we compare our latest 12 months to sort of the normal 12 months of 2019, and we compare that equally for each of the geographies represented here. Again, while Oregon is small, you can see the arc and the growth of the trajectory that it's on, growing 19% compared to California. And you can see Washington is undergoing some pretty tectonic shifts in its business right now. And
Why is that?
yeah, good question. Chair Doherty, Commissioner Porter. What's happening in Washington, and I used to work for the largest producer in Washington, Chateau Ste. Michelle, for many years. Coincidentally, through brand acquisitions, Chateau Ste. Michelle is now the owner of the largest producer in Oregon, as well as Washington, by virtue of 2 acquisitions. But Washington has been led largely by Chateau Ste. Michelle, and that's a very different industry characterization than we have in Oregon. But in Washington, they've encountered the largest corporate entity, a corporate entity that owns multiple brands that in total is about 3 times the size of Oregon's entire wine business. They've experienced a pretty dramatic slowdown in sales, an unexpected inventory build, and they've spent the last couple of years really trying to draw down inventory. They've had leadership transition. They've also had some fairly serious frosts because, unlike Oregon, most of Washington's acreage is on the really dry eastern side of the state, whereas most of our viticulture in Oregon is on the more dry, more, rain-soaked western side of the state. Our temperatures on the west side of the state are pretty moderate. On the east side of Washington, like central and eastern Oregon, you can get really hard freezes about every 4 or 5 years. And they've been, unfortunately, the victim of some of that. But while that might look like a positive, some of those trends there, we do not want Washington to suffer. They are really a key Northwest regional partner in getting out into the marketplace and telling the world about the wines of the Northwest. So we really support and want them to thrive. Does that speak to your question? We don't, we have some joint programs that are working really well for us. One of the most important ones is we've come jointly together to apply for USDA funds that allows us to go together to the top international markets for Northwest wines: London, Tokyo, Stockholm, Seoul, Korea, Copenhagen, for example. Whenever we go internationally, we go as a region. And that's one way that we can not only share the costs, but we can share the administration of a federal grant that lets us touch countries we would not be able to touch on our own. You might wonder a little bit about our international sales. Right now, it's about 4% of our total. Sounds low. It is low compared to the demand that exists internationally. But again, in contrast to Washington, where they have an industry largely dominated by one company, Oregon's volume is spread across so many mid-sized and early stage family businesses, almost all of whom can sell what they make here in the US. So they don't often have a lot of allocated inventory to international markets. But those international buyers come here, they want more wine than they can get. And that's one of the questions that we get from writers all the time is, where's the Oregon wine? A lot of it is in the best wine shops here.
And do you see that there's a trend for international companies wanting to acquire Oregon vineyards?
Excellent question. Chair Doherty, Commissioner Porter, we have seen over the course of my tenure, again, a recognition not only for the volume momentum that you're seeing in the slide now, but the chance to make a reasonable return on your farming and distribution costs. We have seen an extraordinary surge in international interest in owning Oregon properties. We've seen a tremendous domestic surge. The famous film director Francis Ford Coppola is an Oregon wine owner. The famous former NFL quarterback Drew Bledsoe is an Oregon wine owner. We have international interest in Oregon that dates back to the mid-'80s. from the Drouin family of Burgundy, France, followed later by the Jadot family. We have the Jackson family, the Foley family investing here. We have one of the famous champagne houses in France, Bollinger, invested here. That's not happening in other wine regions of the world. There's an appreciation for the consumer demand and acceptance for Oregon wines that people around the world notice. And in a very, very slow growing global wine category, as you can see here, Oregon is a growth stock. Smart investors want to be a part of it. And we're glad to have them because we'll get calls occasionally from journalists when one of these transactions unspools.
Ponzi.
Yeah,
Wonder about Ponzi. It was, oh no, aren't you worried? But the reality is that the infrastructure that improves when, and the knowledge and even some of the labor that comes in of the staff is just world renowned for wine. So we welcome it.
well said. I need to wrap up here, but it's a very good question because there is that perception. Well, gee, aren't we sort of selling off Oregon acre by acre? Quite the contrary. These organizations bring serious and substantial sales organizations that can help Oregon wines get into the marketplace in ways that a small family business here couldn't do by itself. They bring winemaking expertise and technical advances, and they bring all of their consumer followings to Oregon. They help us publicize the wines that are now part of their portfolio and expand us, create a whole bunch of new friends. So it's on balance a very, very positive development to have that kind of attention.
Thank you so much.
Our annual report is available and it touches on all the different things we do. Again, we're involved in education. We're involved in scientific research. Our partners at Oregon State have been invaluable in helping us elevate the quality of Oregon grapes and wines. And a couple other final things I might touch on. You might be wondering, how was the vintage? A question is, how was the vintage? I was with some growers again last night, and you know, if there is a collective sigh of relief that you hear, it's from anybody connected to the Oregon wine business. We had a really surprising frost scare about a year and a half ago that could have really hurt us in the 22 vintage, but it did not. But the year of 2023 has been characterized by hardly any drama. It is no fires, no frost, no calamitous events. So if you had your fingers crossed, you were right there with us. And it all paid off super well. I will make one comment that is I think relevant to some of what I touched on, and it does fall right into the strike zone for the OLCC, and that is I have to acknowledge the assistance and the energy that the commission staff has brought to working with our industry on labeling requirements. These can seem very obscure because they are, but they are very important to Oregon's reputation. By that, I mean, Oregon has higher thresholds than the federal thresholds in terms of how much Pinot Noir needs to go in your Pinot Noir to call it Pinot Noir. And that probably sounds like circular explanation, but federal law would allow you to put in up to 25% of other grapes and still call it Pinot Noir. In Oregon, the standard is higher. If it is not 90% Pinot Noir, you cannot label it Oregon Pinot Noir. And the industry worked closely with the commission as far back as the late 70s to pioneer these rules that aren't in place in other states. But when you have a reputation for quality and you demand the price points that Oregon needs to demand for farmers to make a fair return, things like labeling laws are super important. And similarly, enforcement of our tax provisions. Senate Bill 112 now, 3 years ago, put some of our out-of-state wineries that buy Oregon grapes on equal footing in terms of paying their fair share of the taxes. Before that, anybody in California or Washington could crush Oregon grapes and probably not be liable for the tax that you'd be liable for if you were crushing those grapes here. Senate Bill 112 leveled that field, and everybody now has an obligation. If you're an OLCC permit holder, and you're an out-of-state winery, you have an obligation to pay your share. Again, so we can invest in better research and more marketing to get the wine story out there. But anyway, I'll thank you for your time, and I'll pause if there are any questions. I know I threw a lot at you.
Great job. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate when I have the bandwidth I really enjoy learning about wine.
It's a
And
fascinating
I
category.
really do. I think that it was you who pointed me to or to YouTube with on.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
I mean, I'd have to repeat and repeat to really consume her knowledge, but I really enjoyed your presentation.
It's a really remarkable business where you can learn as much as you want to learn. And we've got a community of winemakers and growers just eager to welcome you and your friends. We're leaving Laura with our most recent copy of the 80-page touring guide that we send to consumers all over the world. And it's got suggested itineraries, and you can give it to your friends. And believe me, there's plenty more free copies where that came from. So there shouldn't be any hesitation. But thank you for your interest, and thank you for your support of our $8 billion wine business. And Director Prince, thank you for the gift and the memorable visit here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
So next on the agenda, we have Paul was now gonna. No, there you are. On retail services, thank you, Paul.
Good morning, Chair Doherty, Commissioners. Paul Roseno, the Interim Director of Retail Services. I'm here today with one agent appointment for store 1036 in the Grand. We started out with 4 applicants for the store. We have 2 for you today, presentations. And we'll start out with Deepika Verma.
Thank you. Thanks.
She said,
7 minutes. We'll have the time for giving that.
so you'll have 7 minutes to make a presentation. Thank you for coming here and preparing for us. And the gendarme here is gonna monitor time. Give her a minute. Heads up.
I'll give you a minute heads up if we interrupt you for whatever reason, so we'll make sure that that doesn't go into the clock.
Ready when you are. Ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Deepika Verma,
I'm Josh West.
and we want to thank you for the opportunity to apply to be the new agent and present to you our vision for liquor store 1036. Next slide, please.
Could you go back one?
Just, get to know us a little bit. A little bit about us. We grew up in Wenatchee, Washington. Josh and I are high school sweethearts. We have been together for almost 10 years. We love to travel, go skiing, snowboarding, and we also love to stay home with our 2 cats, Artemis and Frida. We value family, kindness, integrity, and have big dreams of being entrepreneurs. Next slide, please. I have about 11 plus years of retail experience, ranging from clothing, convenience, furniture to grocery. Along with retail, I've worked alongside with my family running hotels. While my time working at the hotels, I was responsible for payroll, maintenance, hiring, training, overall management. And I have extensive experience working in a fast-paced store environment. During my time at Trader Joe's, I learned how to manage inventory by analyzing past sale patterns while ensuring optimal customer satisfaction. And for the past 9 months, I have been working as an assistant manager at Raleigh Hills Liquor Store. Brad, who is the agent of store 1202, has been mentoring me to become an agent myself. During that time, I did routine inventory, set up bar orders, accepted deliveries, stocked and set up displays, worked with the KMDS system, calculated daily OLCC and non-OLCC drop, and many more daily liquor store agent duties.
I also have extensive experience with customer service and marketing during my time at DPS skis and as a leasing agent at a local apartment complex. Currently, I'm the general manager of a Best Western hotel. I oversee 20 employees, keep track of inventory for linens, food for breakfast. I make the schedule, do payroll, and track financials. Before this position, I was a mortgage loan analyst with Stancore Financial Group, specializing in commercial loans ranging from $500,000 to $20 million. I was instrumental in getting over $1 billion worth of loans to closing in 2022. I always ensure everything is done in compliance in order to keep the company safe in the event of an audit. Next slide, please.
We recognize how well Dee and Liberty have run the store for the past 17 years and want to use their foundation to build on. We will be committed to providing the highest level of service while offering a wide range of products to ensure we are a reliable and trusted liquor source for the city of LeGrand. Our mission statement reflects our ambition for growth and our fundamental beliefs. Next slide, please.
Here are the proposed improvements for the store in years 1 through 3. On the following slides, we have provided example photos of what we're planning, and we'll go into further detail. Next slide, please. Currently, the store uses the amount of space inefficiently. It has very little shelving in the storage area, too much open floor space on the retail side, and just needs general updating, along with lacking a selection of certain products like ready-to-drink items. Next slide, please. During this expansion and renovation, the main improvements will include a walk-in beer cooler, an increased tobacco selection, and additional shelf space for liquor and related items, all to enhance our customer shopping experience and diversify our product selection, making our store a true one-stop shop. We will also add shelves to allow us to store more items than before while freeing up valuable floor space since our inventory is increasing. Next slide, please.
Our vision is to create a welcoming, friendly, natural atmosphere to enhance the overall experience for our customers. Our plan includes modernizing the store with updated paint, exterior, interior signage, trendy decor, unique backlighting for products, all while incorporating sustainable design elements like earth tones and textures that reflect the spirit of the PNW. Next slide, please. Currently, the store has outdated signage to distinguish the different liquor selections. To combat this, we plan to install unique eye-catching signs that highlight our products, as well as fun beer and liquor signs that add a touch of vibrancy throughout the store. Next slide, please.
This is the classic drop ceiling tiles that are in the store now. We believe they're outdated and they detract more than they enhance the atmosphere. We're going to remove the tiles and plan to replace them with wood slats and unique lighting that will add depth and warmth while making the store feel much bigger. Next slide, please. We're also going to enhance the security system of the store with more cameras on the interior and exterior of the store to prevent any blind spots. We will also add a security monitor that will be visible to customers upon entering the store. This will ensure staff are kept safe and inventory is protected while providing the opportunity to spot and improve any operational or customer service deficiencies. Next slide, please.
Additional changes to the store include adding 17 hours per week to operation and expanding the ready-to-drink section and related items after the walk-in cooler is added, as well as a section for Made in Oregon brand. Tobacco margins are too low, so prices will be increased immediately. We will also be installing an in-house ice machine as opposed to reselling ice at a markup. Next slide, please. We will utilize social media to increase store visibility and further establish our brand in the community. Additionally, we plan to partner with other local businesses to create mutual benefits and expand our customer base. It's no secret that this is the only liquor store in LeGrand, but that doesn't mean social media marketing is any less important. A main focus to increase foot traffic will be getting the word out that we now carry beer and wine at the store. Next slide, please.
Our focus outside of social media includes continuing to offer free delivery to bar accounts, working with wedding venues, event planners, and connecting with catering companies. We will also form relationships with nearby hotels, restaurants with bars. We believe these initiatives will expand our customer base, establish our brand, and increase our licensee sales. We'll also be utilizing FinTech's payment source system. We believe it's the future, working with licensee accounts. FinTech automates the current manual alcohol invoice process and state regulatory compliance, as well as allowing us to better track sales of liquor to bar accounts. And will help us be more successful and organized when we bring in beer and wine, since all the distributors accept FinTech. Next slide, please. blues are the Union County stores and purple are Baker County stores. Ours is in the green. As you can see, there's a large portion of licensee sales that is waiting to be captured. We'll capture more by providing a web-based ordering platform and offering the bar managers a direct line of communication with us. And we expect to increase licensee sales continually. Next slide, please. We're fully committed to this business. We have $200,000 of our personal money, or $160,000 of our personal money. We're going into the store, an additional line of credit for $200,000 to make improvements right away. We also have an LOI from Salim Marani for $300,000 loan. Next slide, please.
Salim, along with Brad and Diane, have graciously written me letters of recommendation, knowing that they have full confidence in us and our business plan. We know we have what it takes to be successful liquor agents of store 1036. Next slide, please.
This is just a quick recap of all the changes we plan to make at our store for another reminder. And then next slide, thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
Chair and Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good timing. Commissioner?
Okay, so I'm trying to find your address, I think says Beaverton.
Yes.
So what is the plan? That's a long way.
I know, we visited and we are pre-approved for an apartment there, so they're just kind of waiting on it.
So the plan would be to move to.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the questions I see that the store hours, which I'd like to see expanding the store hours, but I would then also was gonna ask if I was that, what do you know about LaGrande and that community there? It is a pretty small community. And how many times have you visited, or what kind of time have you spent in the community?
We have only been there a couple times. We know that there's Eastern Oregon University there, so that is a large part of the community. We've also toured houses and stuff and getting to know the community, and it is pretty small, but we're excited to kind of put ourselves out there.
We also understand that it's one of the bigger cities in Union County, which I would assume brings in a lot of people from small towns that are, along the highway or, in the middle of Union County where not many people live and they want more product selection, a bigger town vibe, I guess you could say, that LaGrande would offer. So
Yeah, so this is a real question for you because I live in Pendleton. And so I live just right over the hill, and I lived my whole life in Eastern Oregon, so I'm very familiar with LaGrande and with the liquor store. And I guess the better question is, are you sure you know what you're getting into with wanting to live in LaGrande? And this is a genuine question, because I do know in my portion living in Eastern Oregon that a lot of people move there and they say, this isn't really what I wanted to do. And so I'm wondering if you've thought about that. It's a big change for Beaverton.
Yeah, well, we grew up in Wenatchee, Washington.
That's right.
It's Central Washington.
Yeah.
It's, eastern side of the Cascades. The weather and honestly, the environment of just like the community that lives there is probably not much different than LaGrande.
Sure.
Granted, Wenatchee is a little bit bigger, the city that has more to offer, but I think that doesn't mean that LaGrande isn't gonna be any different or worse for us. We come from a small town. We used to live in Ellenburg for a couple of years going to college.
Okay.
So
So you know what it's like.
yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Okay.
We're the only one that can say that.
Not everyone can be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, something.
I have a question on the financing, because, and maybe I missed something here, so correct me if I'm wrong. It showed that you had a gift of $284,000. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was what we shown when we had our application turned in. Yeah, and that's still.
And I didn't see the rest of the financing that you mentioned. You had $660,000 available.
If you go back to the slide, I'm not sure if it's still up there, but
Yes.
yeah.
So you got SBA loan. Okay. I'm just curious why that was that on the application. Did I miss that?
I didn't see that. I just saw that. I thought that the gift would have been sufficient for.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I think that was just a mistake on our part. It should have been a 200,000 like the line of
No,
credit.
that should be sufficient for you to.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, obviously, we have the money with the gracious loan from Salim as well to.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry for the confusion.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Great.
Excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Good to see you guys all again.
Makes it easier for us.
Chair and Commissioners, next up we have LeGrand Spirits Inc., represented by Ryan Steen.
Morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Seven minutes. We'll give you 1 minute.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to present the Grand Liquor and the Grand Oregon to you, the Board of Commissioners. Nice to meet you. I'm Ryan Steen. Next slide, please. There are 5 main points we'll go over: local ownership, expansion and remodeling, improving all overall store experience, the most important, customer service, and finally, creating an online presence. Next slide, please. To summarize a bit about myself, I was born and raised here in Oregon. Having owned a market for over a decade, I understand the importance of inventory management and revenue accountability. For over 15 years, I have bartended and managed in the service industry, dedicating myself to the art and culture of alcohol. I have traveled around the world in search of the best bars and liquor stores in my commitment to exploring and understanding the diverse details of the alcohol industry. In pursuit of knowledge and expertise, I actively sought the guidance of Oregon's highest volume retail agent, Bruce Randall. Under his mentorship, I delved into the complexities of successful store operations within the guidelines of the OLTC. Next slide, please. The Grand Liquor aims to bring a big city store experience to Eastern Oregon, making it a destination store not only for the Grand, but for our neighboring cities as well. Next slide, please. In the top left is the current storefront. The exterior requires some cleaning up, and that's precisely what I intend to achieve. Our objective is to modernize the outward appearance, enhancing its visual appeal and improve signage visibility to attract a greater number of customers. Next slide, please. We will significantly upgrade the store's interior, starting with the layout. As you can see, the register counter is currently on the right side of the store. Pending approval from the electrical assessment, we plan to relocate the counter to the left side of the store. This will allow customers to flow to the right, giving agents and staff the best visibility for the entire floor. Next slide, please. This is what the interior can look like. Fresh, clean, modern. Upgrading the perimeter shelving units will enhance the presentation and spotlight the product more efficiently. New freestanding gondola fixtures under 48 inches tall will be added to the sales floor and repositioned to allow patrons to more easily flow through the store. We will remove the white ceiling panels and repaint the interior an updated flat color palette to create a happier shopping experience. The high draw liquor categories such as vodka and whiskey will be moved furthest from the entrance to draw consumers through the store. And while walking back there, the customers will notice our new category signage that is consistent with the Grand Liquor brandage. Currently, the store is half sales floor and half stock room. To address this, we plan to extend the rear wall backwards, creating additional space for increased shelving units within the store. The expansion will facilitate a greater product display, enhancing our ability to showcase a more extensive range of items. This will align with the OLTC's formula of 2/3 of the overall square footage being devoted to the sales floor. The introduction of beer and wine to our inventory is poised to bring about a substantial increase in sales and contribute to an elevated level of convenience for our customers during their shopping experience. By expanding our product offerings to include a selection of local beers and wines, we aim to not only meet the diverse preferences of our clientele, but also tap into a market segment that holds significant potential for growth. Next slide, please. To further broaden the inventory selection, we would like to increase the current SKU count from 1,100 to at least 1,500 different bottles. We'll be especially focusing on the significant growth categories of tequila, mezcal, and domestic whiskeys. To summarize, I want to clean up the random knickknacks, cigars, and smoking products and focus on selling liquor. The Grand Liquor Store will be remodeled, rebranded, and revitalized to re-energize the customer experience by providing a clean, modern, and exceptionally friendly shopping experience. Next slide, please. We're excited to introduce our new extended operating hours scheduled from Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. This represents a 25% increase from the current store hours. The additional hours will not only mean more availability for our customers, but also translate to increased employee work hours. In recognition of the dedication and effort our employees contribute, we are committed to investing in them by offering higher compensation. Furthermore, we value their insights and perspectives on enhancing the organizational behavior of the store. We firmly believe that by taking care of our employees, we cultivate a stronger, more cohesive team. To foster open communication and ensure everyone is aligned, we plan to conduct quarterly meetings. These sessions will provide a platform for sharing information, discussing product knowledge, and gathering up valuable input from the staff. Building a knowledgeable and engaged team is important to our success, and we look forward to working together towards the shared goals of exceptional customer service and responsible selling practices. Next slide, please. We aim to enhance our search engine optimization performance by developing a website, a particular focus on catering to tourists searching for beer, wine, or spirits. Additionally, we plan to integrate Welp into the online presence. Currently, when consumers search for liquor in the area on the Yelp platform, they are directed to 7 different businesses, none of them which are the Grand Liquor Store. To broaden our online engagement, we'll establish an Instagram account that will seamlessly interact with the corresponding Facebook account. As part of our strategy, we'll create a visually appealing tasting area featuring a backdrop perfect for Instagram pictures. By incorporating location-based tags, we hope to attract local customers and bolster our business visibility within the community.
1 minute.
Central to our online reputation management is the cultivation of positive Google reviews. We are committed to achieving this by constantly delivering outstanding customer service and in-depth product knowledge. Next slide, please. What's in here are the startup costs and operating forecasts for the next 2 years. In my approach to forecasting, I tend to adopt a conservative stance for operational projections, whereas I lean towards a more expansive outlook when estimating startup costs. As you can see here, we expect a minimum 19% increase in liquor sales for 2024. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the vision for this liquor store embodies the commitments to excellence, customer satisfaction, and a vibrant retail experience. The strategic enhancements proposed aim to elevate the store's standing in the community and attract a diverse customer base. I'm very excited about the potential of this venture, and I'm eager to bring my passion, experience, and dedication to make this liquor store a thriving and vital part of the Grand community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
4 seconds.
Reverse that 7-minute deal. You got right. Thank you, Mr. Steen. Any questions?
Sherry,
Sure.
so where do you live?
Baker City.
Okay. And is that where you're a bartender now?
Yes, I currently do bartend at, well, beers and at Barley Browns.
Charlie Brown for Baker, okay. And how long have you been living in Baker?
Bought a house there a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago.
And what would be your plan for, are you gonna stay in Baker?
I would not be opposed to moving to LeGrand at all. I love Baker, but it's even smaller than LeGrand. But commuting is not really, not that far. I'm sure most of you guys have to travel more longer than I would to go to work every day, because it's 40 minutes max, so.
How long have you been in the Baker community?
A year and a half.
A year and a half, and what were you doing before then? I was just,
I lived in Bend,
okay, okay.
which is why I'm in Baker, because I wanted to get to a smaller city.
Okay. And so do you have any experience working in a liquor store or retail services?
Yes, I owned a convenience store for over a decade. And then in 2019, in pursuit of, I really wanted, this is my third attempt at getting a liquor store. I thought I should go to the highest selling agent up in Portland, and I worked with him for a week and he showed me the ropes on how to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you said for how long you were with Bruce for
A week.
about a week? Okay.
Yeah. You did say that at the beginning. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so our next, we will go into executive session to consider the agent selection here. Commission will now go into executive session to deliberate on the agent selection pursuant to the authority of ORS 192-660-2A. That's reading of this. Thank you. All right, we have reconvened. I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, Ted,
Yes, Commissioner.
I move to bring Deepika, Burma, and Josh class 2 store 1037.
Take a roll.
Second.
Oh, yeah, this. Yeah, have a second?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
have a second. Okay.
Commissioner Curran?
Yeah.
Do we have time for discussion?
Yes, certainly, yes. Go ahead.
No, I appreciate it. I will say, I know I'm the newest camper here. This was a very difficult decision. Applicants were very close. I think what's important, and I appreciate the conversation about community and who will be able to build community. I felt like both applicants could. And I just really appreciate everything that was shared with our applicants today. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but I would encourage whoever doesn't receive it to continue to apply, because I think they will make a good store managers and all that.
Thank you.
Certainly. So as we moved and seconded, and now, we'll have discussion. If you would take the roll, please.
Commissioner Curran?
Yeah.
Commissioner Floyd?
Yes.
Commissioner Hallvarder? Commissioner Hanks?
Yes.
Commissioner Relatus?
Yes.
Chair Doherty?
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So now we have rules, staff recommendations. So our next item here. There we go.
Good morning, Chair Doherty and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Nicole Blase and I am the Rules Coordinator for the OLCC. I'm here to present 3 rulemaking actions for your consideration today. Our first item for today is a temporary and initial action for batch tagging date and rule alignment. The OLCC adopted permanent rules at its March 2023 meeting relating to batch tagging of marijuana plants with an effective date of January 1st, 2024. However, the OLCC has encountered procurement delays, which have impeded the implementation of batch plant tagging within the cannabis tracking system. Due to these delays, the system will not be ready for batch tagging by the effective date of January 1st, 2024. ORS 475C.177 mandates that the OLCC develop and maintain a system for ensuring an accurate accounting of the production of marijuana items and the propagation of immature marijuana plants and the production of marijuana by a marijuana producer. Staff is delaying the implementation of batch tagging until April to ensure system functionality aligns with the rule. Further, over the course of the past year, the OLCC has worked to implement legislation, policy changes, and technical adjustments
to the cannabis rules within Division 25 of Chapter 845 of the Oregon Administrative Rules. Staff carried these rule changes through the full rulemaking process. However, these various changes require technical alignment within the Secretary of State Rules database to ensure all of the changes are aligned. And I have TJ Sheehy here to answer any questions that you might have.
TJ and I talked this morning and we talked throughout this. It's a complicated deal. I think it's good that we're working closely with Metric because, you know, it's been a strong partnership and I think it's important to, you know, that they can deliver on what we need and because we can pass rule, but ultimately we have a contract and we have a obligation to them and then to us. And, you know, just kind of a side note, like going to Canberra, we realized, you know, how prolific Metric is and how much Oregon really drives the conversation. So I think it's important to everybody's keeping in touch with them and then that they're working with us, we're working with them. I also know that they're evolving that company a lot. I mean, there may be things on the tax front they can help, but there's so much that can come out of a strong relationship and partnership with them. I think it's good that we're being thoughtful about this and giving us some more time. So good work. Did I miss anything or?
No, Commissioner Miletus, you covered that well. I just want to put a few more details into the record. So Nicole mentioned that it's proposed to delay this until April. The specific date that batch plant tagging would now sunrise would be April 22nd of next year. The reason for it being April 22nd is kind of an odd date. That's the first Monday after our April commission meeting. And so the issue is as Nicole said, there have been procurement delays. This is a stage gate process. It goes through DAS. As we heard earlier, there are complexities and timelines associated with those sorts of contracts. So that's part of it. But the other part of it is that we are still trying to get to mutual agreement with Metric on the substance of the amendment. And so bumping this out to April 22nd gives us two things. And make sure we have plenty of runway for the state procurement process. And also make sure that we can have that discussion with Metric. And if we're unable to come to a mutual agreement on the specifics of the amendment, it gives us the ability to do further rulemaking so that we can move forward with batch tagging in a way that will work for us on the OLCC side and for our licensees. And so we do need that additional on-ramp time for rulemaking if that's required so that we can do a RAC, go through the notice and comment period and take this to you no later than the April commission meeting and have it ready for batch tagging to go into effect without further delay.
Any other discussion? Entertain a motion for the temporary initial action.
Okay.
Here.
Yes.
Okay. I move to temporarily amend OAR 845-025-1015, 845-025-2070, 845-025-7520, 845-025-7570, and 845-025-7580, effective January 4th, 2024 to July 2nd, 2024. Initiate rulemaking in Division 25 related to this action and hold a rulemaking hearing at staff's discretion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? To take the roll.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter.
Yes.
Commissioner Hayes.
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus.
Yes.
Chair Doherty.
Yes. We now have the temporary action.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, TJ. Our next item for today is temporary action for the delivery of alcoholic beverages direct to consumers. This rulemaking package addresses technical updates due to House Bill 3308. House Bill 3308 requires parties who deliver alcoholic beverages.
I'm sorry,
Chair,
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
tracking before, but so for the April 22nd deadline and then there's a July 2nd, that rulemaking gets extended to July 2nd, is that just for a cushion?
So, Commissioner, the temporary rules are for 180 days. And so if we are to pass and approve something prior to that, it will become effective prior to that. But the Secretary of State automatically does temporary for 180 days.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes. Where was I? Okay. Delivery of alcoholic beverages direct to a consumer. House Bill 3308 requires parties who deliver alcoholic beverages direct to a consumer on behalf of an OLCC licensee to have an OLCC issued third-party delivery facilitator permit, and to ensure that delivery persons who deliver alcoholic beverages to the physical possession of a consumer have taken the required training. And I do have our liquor policy analyst, Tyler Glaze, joining us virtually if you have any further questions about this temporary rule package.
Right, so we'll entertain a motion.
Chair,
Commissioner,
I move to temporarily amend 845-005-0416-0424, 845-006-0391, 0392, 0396, 0399, and 845-009-0300, repeal 845-005-0401, and to adopt 845-005-0423, and 0451, effective January 2nd, 2024 to June 28th, 2024, and to hold a rulemaking hearing at staff's discretion.
second,
Second.
any discussion? Take the roll.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Javon Carter, Commissioner Hayes.
Yes.
Commissioner Melita,
Yes.
Chair Doherty.
Yes.
Excellent. And our last item for today is final action for the 2023 alcohol housekeeping and technical updates. This rulemaking package addresses housekeeping and technical updates in response to House Bill 2013, Senate Bill 1052, and the need for housekeeping updates to some current rules. And I do have a staff joining us virtually if you have any further questions.
All right. Have a motion?
Chair,
Yes. Commissioner,
I move to amend 845-005-0308, 0311, 0320, 0417, 0425, 845-006, 0335, 0345, 0350, 0400, 0401, 845-009, 0010, 0140, and 845-013-0020, and to repeal 845-005-0426, effective January 2nd, 2024.
do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Javon Carter.
Yes.
Commissioner Hayes.
Yes.
Commissioner Melita,
Yes.
Chair Doherty.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for reading.
So now we're going to go into recess. Yeah. So we have some stipulated settlements. We were going to recess. The commission temporarily recess its public meeting to discuss proposed stipulated settlement agreements from contested cases under ORS 183.417 as authorized under ORS 192.6901. We anticipate reconvening in approximately 30 minutes. Here we are back in session. And the final part of the afternoon is some stipulated settlement agreements. First one's going to be an alcohol violation stipulated settlement agreement. And I would entertain a motion there.
Chair,
Commissioner,
I would move to ratify the two alcohol stipulated settlement agreement as proposed by staff.
in a second,
Second.
discussion. Take the roll.
Commissioner Curran,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter, Commissioner Hayes,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Chair Doherty.
Yes. Now we have Carolina violation stipulated settlement agreements. Yes. What you want to do? Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, we got to get here, so please introduce this.
Chair, for the record, my name is Victoria Brown. I'm a case presenter in the Administrative Hearings Division, and I'm here today to present the stipulated settlement agreement.
Okay. Well, pardon me for going around you there.
Do I get to make the motion again?
You need practice, I think. So,
Oh, I'm sorry. We have 3 alcohol compliance stipulated settlements for your consideration. Do you want to start with just those 3?
sure.
Okay. So we have 3 alcohol stipulated settlements for your consideration. Were there any questions that I can answer concerning these? Okay. We also have 5 marijuana compliance settlements for your consideration, as well as 1 marijuana licensing settlement for your consideration. Are there any questions on these?
Any questions? No.
Marijuana.
Yes, let's go with the marijuana one, if you would like.
Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
in regards to the marijuana violations, I move to ratify the 5 marijuana stipulated settlement agreements as proposed by staff.
Second. Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Commissioner Kern,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter, Commissioner Hayes,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Chair Doherty.
Yes. And we have some licensing.
We have 1 marijuana licensing settlement for your consideration today, Chair and Commissioners. Are there any questions on the licensing settlement?
Okay. Entertain a motion for the stipulated licensing stipulated settlement agreement. Commissioner,
I move to ratify the licensing stipulated settlement agreement for KGA Cannabis LLC as proposed by staff.
second, any second,
Second.
any discussion? Take the vote.
Commissioner Kern,
Yes.
Commissioner Floyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Japon Porter, Commissioner Hayes,
Yes.
Commissioner Miletus,
Yes.
Chair Doherty.
Yes. And I think that is all we have for today, isn't it? Then, if there's not any further business,
Mr. Chair, I was going to say thank you for on the rules. There's a heck of a lot of work that goes into those rules. I want to thank staff, but particularly on the batch tagging, I want to thank Jesse at Chow. Because we're delaying implementation of that batch tagging to make sure we can do it correctly. So I want to thank Chow and their leadership. I also want to thank everyone who worked on the alcohol delivery implementation rules. Our staff worked with a lot of people on the rule advisory committees to make sure we can regulate this area. So just thank yous to our partners.
yeah, certainly appreciate that. With that, we are adjourned.